Peace. Good day, good day, good day. Prince L here with, Dr. L, Doctor of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. I'm excited today. Excited to bring on my guest. And I don't know about her, but I've been waiting to do this video with her for a minute. So while she's joining, today what we're going to be discussing is some health and beauty tips, things you can do naturally, and also
Hello.
There she is. What's going on, Tiny?
How are you?
Doing well, doing well. How about yourself today?
I am doing great. I can't complain. It was a great day today. It's a rainy day in Miami Beach, but that's the usual. This is the time of year, so
Tis the season. Tis the season.
yeah, it really is. How are you? I'm so happy and excited and grateful to be doing this live with you.
Likewise, likewise. Did you put a filter on your screen? Because you got like
Yeah, I
some.
just did. I just put that on. That's one of my favorites.
Okay, you got a little glitter going. All right, a little
Yeah,
glare.
we're gonna make it special.
Okay, okay. So, something I like to do is I like to kind of like just ask a little question and answer, and just like, especially when dealing with like health and wellness advocates. And I've only known you for a short period of time, just through Instagram, but like all your content is phenomenal. I see you always promoting a very healthy way of living. And tell me, how long have you been doing this? Like what inspired you to get onto this journey?
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate the love, and likewise, I love your content as well. I think it's so informational and really well made. And for me specifically, I will be 100% honest. I wasn't always the healthiest person, and I haven't always been someone that really has taken care of their body from the inside out. So just to give you a little bit of a background, and for your followers as well who may not know me, just to give you guys a little bit of a background on myself. I'm Ecuadorian, so I grew up in Ecuador, and then I moved to Miami in 2001. So
Okay.
right after September 11th actually happened in 2001, I moved to Miami, and it was quite the transition because living in Ecuador, it is a third world country. And for us, for example, healthcare is not as accessible as it is in America. But
Okay.
also our diets are very, very, very different from the diet that we also have in the US. So I found it very, very interesting throughout the years while I was growing up here that, for example, although our healthcare in South America is not the greatest, the quality of the food and the nature of the food is a lot more natural and less processed than it is in the US. And in the US, you actually have a little bit of a better healthcare system as far as the accessibility for it. But the foods that you're consuming aren't always the most healthy. So then when I came to America and I started, I was like, oh my God, like pizza, burgers, like all the fast food, it's readily available to you. I kind of went a little crazy in my teenage years, and obviously I never really took care of myself and ate whatever I wanted, drank whatever I wanted, didn't really become healthy. And now as an adult over the recent years is when I really started to notice how my body was reacting as I got older. So with over time, I started noticing differences mainly in my brain power and also in the way that I felt. So fatigue wise, my sleeping patterns, my quality of sleep was diminishing, as well as my concentration, my mind fatigue, my mental fatigue. So when I started noticing that, once I started noticing that, I was like, okay, I have to really start now looking into what I'm putting in my body, not only ingesting it, but also what I'm also putting that my skin is absorbing, because I've learned that, your skin is the largest organ, that absorbs a lot of things in your body. So I was just like, wow, it really opened up my eyes. I started educating myself a little bit on that. So it's already been a couple of years, I would say maybe 2 years, that I'm still in this journey of trying to just find what's going to be the best for my body, and how it reflects later on your physical appearance.
Right. So, like, just out of curiosity, how old were you when you first came to America and experienced the SAD, the Standard American Diet?
Yes. So I started 14. I was 14 years old and now I'm
14.
32. So it's been 15 years.
Okay.
So about 10
15.
years of me eating, a lot of fast food and not being very healthy to now over the past 5 years is when I started noticing the changes and I was like, oh, I don't feel so good. I don't look
Right.
so good. I don't feel so good. There has to be some changes.
What were some of the things that you noticed about like your skin per se? Like, because like for women, women's bodies react to things that they eat a little bit faster than men's bodies. So, like, what were some of the things that you were noticing about your outward appearance as well as like what
So
you
over
eat?
the period of time, of course, what I realized is depending on what I was eating, I would break out a lot. So
Okay.
I noticed that, well, I didn't, it took me a while to notice, but over the time, I noticed that, for example, if I would intake dairy or a lot of processed foods, I would break out all of in my jaw area. And then, of
Mm,
course, when Mother Nature comes and you get your period once a month, also with the hormonal imbalance, because you're going
right.
through different cycles
Right.
in general, throughout your month, women go through different cycles through the month. And then,
Yeah.
then I'm like, that makes a lot of sense as to why our emotional roller coasters can be a little crazy sometimes. But yeah, so I noticed the dairy and highly processed foods were making my skin just react in a certain way in which I didn't understand at the moment that it was what I was eating. I thought that maybe it was just I was going through puberty, or I thought that maybe I wasn't washing my face enough. And, the usual things that you normally think are the surface level reasons as to why your skin's reacting a certain way. So for me, it was definitely clogged pores and
Mhm.
breaking out. And I would notice too that the breakouts are not necessarily like a blackhead or something like that that's based
Right.
with dirt and you clogged your pores, but it was something that was more coming from internal, that I felt
Right.
like my skin was trying to purge something because it was
Mm,
painful. So
okay.
I realized that I started correlating the inflammation. Like I was a walking billboard for inflammation. I didn't realize that all the things I was eating as well were causing internal inflammation, and therefore
Right.
my skin was also reacting.
So, like, is it safe to say, like, a lot of the processed food and even some of the dairy you kind of like cut out of the diet?
Yes, 100%. So now I started doing paleo
Okay.
diet just because I was looking into going 100% vegan, but to be 100% honest, it's been very hard for me to cut
Uh-huh.
meat out of my diet just because I've been very much a carnivore my entire life.
Okay.
And
It's also
for me,
cultural
my
too, isn't
personal
it?
belief, at least in that sense, is that I feel like, back when we were cavemen, when we would
Mhm.
go out hunting and, we would eat protein, but obviously it was a completely different game back then because one, we hunted not for sport, but for survival.
Right.
And number
Okay.
two, these were, the animals that we were eating, are actually grazing land and are actually helping the natural ecosystem of the world, because the more that
Right.
the cows and the animals graze, it actually helps the ecosystem. It's an entire, um, chain.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I started eating more of like grass-fed beef and that kind of protein, and then just stick to fruits and vegetables because, you can also get your carbs from vegetables, so
Right.
I started noticing once I cut bread, like white bread and flour and things like that. If I started, if I'm eating carbs, I'm eating more of a complex carb, like a sweet potato, a yuca, or
Right.
broccoli or something like that, as opposed to your bread, pasta, rice, and things like that. And that's what I started noticing as far as my diet when I transitioned and I cut dairy out and processed, like cheese and things like that out of my diet. Um, I noticed a big difference on how I felt, the bloating, my skin, everything in general, fatigue, even brain fog, etc.
So, like, like for myself, having treated like a wide array of like different people and different cultures, especially us being here in South Florida, that's also something I usually have consultations on with a lot of my clients, especially the ones that are coming from South America, because even if they're not consuming the standard American diet, when they still go to the supermarket, and I mean like not a supermercado or Presidente or Sabaros or anything like Sedanos, excuse me, not Sabaros. What am I saying? And Sabora is like the new name for Publix, right?
Yeah.
But people would be trying to consume some of the same cultural foods that they were eating when they were home, before they migrated to here, and although they don't notice the very small differences in flavor or even in the quality of the products and the groceries that they're consuming, there's a big difference in the way that they're processed. You know what I mean? And of course, there's it's not like the traditional form of preserving food. Like even if I'm not a Paleolithic dieter, so to see, or eater. I'm purely plant based for the most part. I have a little bit of dairy every now and then, but mostly in the form of like goat's cheese. But still, nonetheless, um, you know the when the foods that we preserve here are not being done with like natural salts or being dried out or anything like that. So that way they last longer. And a lot of people here, once we come to America, it seems that we love fried food, and of course, all that extra oil comes out in the skin.
Of
So,
course.
in the skin, as you said, like being the largest organ, it's easier to see. Something that you also mentioned, I just want to like just touch on real quickly, is that like in Paleolithic times, we were using physical indicators of health to decide who we wanted to be with. So like if you saw, in the case of a woman, if you saw that a man was frail, was thin, couldn't survive the elements, you were less likely to be interested in that male
Right, because
because
you can't procreate and then for continue. So absolutely.
yeah, and then of course, like, if you got a frail partner, then that means that the children may come out frail, and then that's another danger to the society and the culture. And who knows what could have happened if there were like frail people,
Right,
reproducing back then,
exactly.
especially if we're not migrating. So, but aside from that, like, a healthy diet, lots of fruits and vegetables, which are filled with lots of healthy sources of protein, carbohydrates, fats, protein, lipids, and enzymes that you get from your fruits and your vegetables.
Right, and the minerals that you need. Actually didn't realize how minerals are so important, and actually how our day-to-day, diet, at least when you're consuming anything that's store-bought, you just have so much lack of minerals in that.
Mhm.
And it's kind of crazy to see that you actually need a lot more than what we're actually being kind of given to.
Right. So as far as like, the your external beauty, how do you maintain that? Like what are you doing that's got like that skin glowing the way that it
Well, right
glows?
now it's just straight up face grease.
Okay.
But it's straight up sweat. No, honestly, it's still very much a struggle for me, because like I
Mhm.
said, I'm still going to this journey. So as I progress in my diet, and the more research that I do, and the more education that the more that I research and educate myself in the matter, like I said, I wanted to make the slow transition into plant-based from like normal.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
tried, like I said, to do maybe like a cold turkey vegan for a while and do plant-based. And what
Hmm.
I ended up noticing is that if I don't transition maybe in a slower pace, I am the kind of person, I mean, in my personality, it's the fact that I can binge. So it's just like, oh, I'm craving like a little something, so I'm gonna go ahead and have it, but I will have it then
Right.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If I say, oh, it's the weekend, I'm gonna cheat, so I'm gonna have like, I don't know, a steak or something, and then I'll go back to plant-based the rest of the week. But then at the same time, if I once I started thinking about it like that too, I'm like, it's gonna take me at least 3 days to still process all that protein
Right.
fully out of my
Absolutely.
system anyway.
Right.
So I'm trying to really be mindful of the protein that I am intaking. So
Hmm.
that's one of the things that I'm trying to do. But honestly, uh, to maintain in general, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to incorporate spirulina, super greens, and things like that into my diet. I'm intaking a vegan collagen.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm also taking a pre and probiotic.
Okay.
So these are things that I'm trying to do, and this is the first thing that I do every single morning, of course.
Right.
Another thing actually that I noticed that has helped a lot, not only internally but also externally, which is kind of funny, is also being in tune with your mind and your body as far as spiritual goes. Spirituality actually has helped me quite a bit.
Right.
At least to be in tune 100%. I feel like you can totally tell. You could be the most beautiful person in the world externally, but also if you're not very happy with yourself and your spirit, it is going to reflect as well on the outside, which it's kind of funny. So I think a compass of between my diet, my daily routine, because your routine is everything. So between,
Right.
trying to have my greens,
Mhm.
intake my collagen, take my pre and probiotics, drink a lot of water. I actually used to be the no water drinking type, and now I
Oh,
am definitely, my water intake has gone up quite a bit. I'm drinking alkaline water instead of your regular Florida's finest tap water.
mhm.
So this is a little thing. Oh, and of course, what I was trying to do actually when I went to the Coconut Grove farmers market and I ended up getting the turmeric honey, that was a
Mhm.
game changer for me. And actually, the benefits that I saw from that, because also another thing that I forgot to mention to you is that I suffer from terrible sinuses.
Oh,
And
really?
another thing that I noticed is because of the fact that I went to my holistic doctor, who she is also specializes in Chinese medicine and Oriental medicine. So she told me two things, which I thought were greatly, that impacted me a lot. So the two things that she told me is that one, as human beings, we actually carry our emotions in our bodies. And actually, as a human being, if you're not processing and you're not dealing with your stress and you're not dealing with your thoughts and your emotions,
Mhm.
it's eventually you're putting so much stress by holding it in your body that it's going to reflect on your physical body, and next thing you know, you're going to start breaking down like a car. So that's basically
Absolutely.
what started happening. And then once I started taking, so every morning what I would do is take a spoonful of the turmeric honey, and then just put some hot water that I heated in the kettle with a slice of lime, or lemon, actually a slice of lemon, and that was my tea for the morning. And I
Right.
noticed the difference in my sinuses 100%. So I was not, my mucus production went down like 1,000 levels. I noticed a lot that because of the fact that it's an anti-inflammatory, it's an antibiotic. My mom is actually also a cancer patient, so her doctor
Okay.
told her to do turmeric and black pepper. So that's
Mhm.
also what's helped her a lot, battling this. So all these little things that I've been learning along the way is what I've been incorporating in my diet, my lifestyle, and I have noticed an improvement in, for example, my hair. It's shinier, it's more manageable. I also cut out toxic ingredients from,
Okay.
what I'm using. So the products that I'm using now are vegan, are, I wouldn't say they're not 100% natural, because as you know, if they had 100% natural ingredients, they would either come in a little fridge and you would have to keep them in the
Yeah,
refrigerator. They do have
absolutely.
things that preserve them, but they're all vegan, so they're all created, in a lab, and so they don't have any parabens, sulfates, or any toxic ingredients. And they're cruelty free. So that's something that I also noticed difference. So with my skincare and my hair care, I switched my products and I did notice a difference. And of course, it took time though, because just like everything else in life, if I've been intaking a certain product for about,
Mhm.
let's say 20, 15, 20 years, just
Right.
because one day I drink turmeric honey is not gonna change the game.
No.
You have to
Every.
be consistent, and you have to make a conscious lifestyle decision or a conscious lifestyle change, that a commitment that you're going to stay with it, and that's the only way you're going to see results. And that's just with anything in life, not only your health and working out or losing weight. You have to stay
Right.
consistent in order to really see the results. So
I'm looking at your forehead, and I know that like you're like, for me, when I'm consulting with a patient, like oftentimes I'm doing a lot of non-mechanical diagnostics. I'm looking at the skin quality, where
yeah,
the
but I also
acne
have a
may be.
filter, so
Like even without the filter, I've seen some of the videos and the pictures that you take without the filter, and like your skin is like it looks amazing. But like I'm always looking at like whether or not where the acne is, especially when I'm treating women, when they're coming to me about hormone, like when they feel that their hormones are a little bit imbalanced. So
yeah.
I
And
look
for
at the.
example, you could see some of the remaining, because I have some of the scarring that I used to suffer from.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could see it, and it was all, yeah, and you're 100% right. All of the acne was always concentrated in this area.
Right. But see, like something that most people don't know is that like when it comes to the forehead, and like this is the area that I look at to determine whether or not it's hormonal or if it's environmental, like meaning what the person is exposing their own body to. And hair care products, like for myself, when I wore shorter hair, if I put like any kind of oil that wasn't like coconut based into my scalp, like I would have like a glossy sheen over my skin, and then like the little acne, you know what I mean? But like I look at your forehead, and I look at the shine that your hair has, and I think it's absolutely amazing. So like I'm, where where can I possibly, like men are using this Monat product too, right?
Yes, of course, 100%. So the beauty of the products is that they're unisex, and there
Hmm.
is a men's line, but they actually just finished launching like a little special for a Christmas, but it's sold out already, which is crazy because honestly, men use the product quite a bit, and there is an amazing product that they have. And for example, the oil is a perfect example. So the main ingredient in the products that I'm using is called Rejuvenique oil, and Rejuvenique oil is 13 essential oils that have been cold pressed, and the molecular structure of the oil itself is so small that it actually penetrates all layers of the dermis. So it will
Okay.
penetrate exactly. So that's why for me specifically, the oil is what helped heal a lot of the acne scarring that I had in a fairly quickly pace, as well as a lot of the hyperpigmentation that I had. I was extremely impressed because I was one of those people, a lot of those women who had the misconception that if you put I have oily combination skin. So in my mind, I was like, well, why would I put more oil on oily combination skin? It's going to be contraproducent. But it
Right,
actually ended up helping because it ended up balancing the pH level in my skin.
right,
And with that being said, what was extra oily balanced out, and what needed hydration was hydrated. So
right.
for me, it was kind of a little bit of a game changer. And that is the exact same oil that I use on my face, I use on my scalp. So I do oil treatments in my scalp at least once every 2 weeks. And when I'm being real lazy, I do it once a month. But
Okay.
that's what I've noticed in my personal opinion. What has made the biggest difference, aside from every other product that I've used for the entire line, just the oil itself for me was the game changer, and that's what kind of made me want to try the other products. But for you, I would totally just recommend the oil. For all men, I recommend the oil because you could use it for your skin, you could use it for your beard, you could use it for your hair. So it's a multi-use oil, and again, it has 101 uses as well. So it's great for any skin conditions that you might have. So it could be eczema, psoriasis, any sort of allergies. It's safe to use on children. So in
Is there
general,
any is
for
there any turmeric in that oil too? Because I,
oh
I
my
feel
God,
like
if it had turmeric in that oil, it might as well just be a cure-all. You know what I mean?
you know
We gotta infuse some turmeric into that,
we might need to talk a little bit more about
right?
that.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
what's the name of the site? So that way, like some of my viewers who are
Of
who
course. Well, I am the distributor. I am one of the market partners, so you can actually get all this, all the products. You can get them directly from my page. So my link is in my bio.
right,
Because just like, for example, I would say you're a distributor for, turmeric and stuff like that, so we can get it
yeah,
from your site. It works the exact same way. So for anyone that also wants to kind of look for, if any of my followers are on here, of course, as well, and you guys are looking for, to up your health game and your, just entirely your entire wellness game, make sure that you guys definitely also check out Dr. Prince's website, because I personally can vouch for the turmeric honey that I've been actually asking to get more. I can't wait to get more. This
got a
Saturday
large
also
bottle.
there's a pop-up event. So if you, I'm not sure if you're going to be at the Coconut Grove flea market this Saturday, but
Yes.
I'm hosting with my friend Nina. She's hosting her pop-up. Um, and we're gonna have a really nice pop-up on Saturday. It's from 1 to 4, and definitely, you're more than welcome to come by before or after if you're available. So you can come and check it out. You can come and check out the oil for yourself as well. Let's see what else.
I'm gonna have to. I'm definitely gonna be making an effort to make my way out there. But like usually, like Saturdays are some of
I
my
know.
busiest.
Until what time is the farmers market open? Because I was actually, that's why I couldn't make it, because on Saturdays are the days, pop up days. So
Right.
I can make it either before the pop up or after the pop up.
So at the market, just look for the big yellow tent that says turmeric on it, and I'm usually there from 9 a.m. till almost 7 p.m.
Oh,
Um,
great. So I can stop by right after. Perfect. Yeah, because that's what
right
I
at.
was actually going to do last time. And that's when I told you, I was like, I just couldn't make it and I got caught up.
Mhm.
But yeah, guys, the turmeric honey actually is an amazing, amazing product. And like
You
I
can
said,
even
I can definitely vouch and speak for the accuracy of how it actually makes you feel better, especially coming from, I had no idea the the power of turmeric until my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer,
Mm.
and her doctor diagnosed her. And the funny part about it is that my mom has already in a stage, an advanced stage, that she's not going
Mhm.
into remission. So we already know that that's not going to happen.
Well, that's not true.
However,
That's
well,
not
yeah, that's true. But the thing about my mom is that she um, has fallen into a little bit more of that Western medicine
okay.
ideal. So
Hmm.
I've been trying to get her into the holistic side, and it's been a
Okay.
little bit like pulling teeth.
Well, I tell you what, if you talk to your mom and you ask her, hey, I know a guy who successfully treated breast cancer. He's a TCM doctor. Are you interested in a free consultation? If she says yes, let's get mom going, okay?
I will
Because
definitely propose that to her. That would be so amazing. But her doctor in the beginning, like I was telling you, he's actually from Mercy Hospital, and
okay,
even though he's an oncologist, he straight up told my mom, he's like, the way you're gonna cure your cancer is through your diet and through your
yeah,
lifestyle, your
yeah,
wellness. We're not gonna. They did minimal chemo on her. They did minimal radiation. She didn't get a mastectomy, so they didn't do anything invasive too much on her, which is what I'm grateful for, because sometimes I do feel like those kind of treatments, depending on where you are, as far
hmm,
as your immune system and as far as how your actual endocrine system responds to those kind of treatments.
yes,
Um, thank God that she's a strong, healthy person, because I feel like some
right,
people, this is why sometimes chemo can be worse than good. But yeah, so
yeah,
she changed her diet. She cut dairy. She cut sugar out, because cancer also feeds off sugar.
off,
So
yeah,
it's
a
so
lot
important, guys, for you to know that white sugar is like the devil. Okay, so white sugar
of,
you should not be consuming whatsoever, ever, ever, ever in your life. No Red
right.
Bull, no sodas. Make sure that you have either pure cane sugar or agave. You just have to have your sweetener. You just make sure that you have to have that, because
And ladies, I gotta say, ladies have to be careful about the kind of deodorant that they put on, because if they're using deodorant with parabens, with a lot of zinc, with a lot of aluminum, these are going to be things that block the perspiration aspect of things from happening in the armpits. And of course, if it can't come out the armpit, it's going to go to the neighbor. And that, ladies, we love
oh my God,
healthy
that's
breath.
100% true. And I don't know if you can recommend a deodorant, because I have been struggling with that myself. So again, trying to make lifestyle changes little by little. So first I started with my shampoo, my conditioner, my skincare, my diet, but there's still things that sometimes I even think to myself, I'm like, but I'm contradicting this, because how is it that I'm using vegan hair care and skincare, but my deodorant's Dove? Like, I gotta, I don't want to contradict what I'm trying to do.
Or it's a secret, and like what's the secret to secret? Hey, it could give you
It's
cancer.
aluminum.
That's the secret to secret. But something I like to recommend to women who are undergoing breast cancer, or looking for ways to naturally reverse it. I always tell them, this might stink, but I'm gonna need you to stink a little bit. Okay, so I need you to go a day or two without wearing deodorant consistently. That just means maybe you got to take a rag, or the same kind of cloths that they use for makeup to apply to their armpits. That way they can remove some of the bacteria and the odor being produced by those bacteria from their armpits. Basically clean the surface a little bit more frequently on the days that you go without deodorant. Sweat. A lot of women, like especially here in South Florida, everybody's got their air conditioners cranked to the lowest, and they're not allowing their bodies to naturally detoxify, which is what sweating does. So, definitely one of the best forms of deodorant that I would say can be essential oils that you can put
Oh
together yourself.
yeah, that's true. I've heard that, because someone told me that you could use doTERRA essential oils, and you can
Well, I
mix.
also have some essential oils as well on my website. So like I definitely want you to check those out.
Yeah, definitely. You got to let me know which ones are the ones that you can combine, because I know there's one, I think it's eucalyptus as well, that you can help, and
Right,
that also helps you tone down the smell if you're not, about that.
right. Well, what I would also recommend, based on the way that you described that oil, I would say even apply a little bit of that oil, that rejuvenate,
Oh
that,
yeah, you know what? I've never tried that.
basically.
I should try it. That's one use that I have not used it for, because honestly, I've
Hmm.
used it for everything. I've used it for burns, cuts.
Right,
It truly is an amazing little vial of oil. Um,
right.
That's awesome. And my question for you is, so how long have you, when was it that you realized that you needed to kind of change the health game a little bit and you wanted to kind of go away from your typical Western medicine, and what interested you?
Well, you know, the long and the short of it is two things happened. The first thing that happened was in 2006, I got out of the military. All right. And when I left the military, I left without any kind of veteran benefits or medical health care or anything. So I was out of the military with completely no safety net, you know.
Wow.
And one of my biggest fears was not being able, was getting hurt to a point where I couldn't necessarily use my body for like the kind of work I was accustomed to, which was at that time was I was a combat engineer, so I did a lot of plumbing, a lot of HVAC, refrigeration. But I didn't want to go back into that industry more or less. Like I wanted to like get as far away from anything that kind of reminded me of my time in service. And so what I started doing was well, I was stationed in Mississippi at the time. So I moved. I'm originally from New York and I moved back to New York and I started going to my local library, you know, like just looking for natural remedies. One of the first books I actually picked up was 1,001 Health Remedies. It's actually like a $75 book. I got it on sale from Barnes and Noble before they
Wow.
closed up for $9.99, if you could
Wow, it's
believe that.
crazy, that kind of knowledge. That kind of knowledge is amazing.
Yeah, and so like from very simple things, like some of the first things I started like experimenting with for my own health was creating my own deodorant, you know, fluoride free toothpaste, you know. And then at the time, I was staying with family and we weren't consuming beef or, you know, any kind of other meat for long periods of time. So I started to slowly adjust my meat consumption from every day because like, you know, I know I'm a lot smaller right now, but I was 195 pounds at base,
Wow.
you know. And by just like removing a lot of the processed meats, you know, consuming like switching slowly to turkey and then to fish, and then, you know, I saw a movie, and this is the second thing that actually like pushed me over the edge with like changing my diet. I saw Watchmen, and the character Dr. Manhattan, the big blue guy,
Oh my
you know,
God,
I
I
know,
love that movie so
yeah,
much just because of Dr. Manhattan, because he's so
yes.
woke.
Yeah, and so, you know, like just wanting to try to be like a better form of energy led me to think of consuming better forms of energy, things that would be easier for my body to process and digest without like causing, you know, allergies. I had very sensitive skin. I also had eczema and some places nobody wants to talk about. Okay, so but by making those dietary adjustments, my eczema started to go away, and I was like, you know what, this is it. Like it's got to be
This
all
is
plant
real.
based.
Like, this is real.
Yeah. And so in 2011, no, 2009, I enrolled to a acupuncture massage college in Kendall, right? Where I originally I was going to University of Miami, but I wanted to study natural medicine. Of course, UM doesn't have a natural medicine program.
No,
They got the
because big
military.
universities don't want to teach you that.
That's not what they're teaching. But one of my professors, I had an advanced biology and sociology class, and my biology teacher, my biology professor actually was like, "There's another school that maybe you might be interested in." So I went, checked them out. At the time, I didn't have an associate's degree to begin the acupuncture course. So I studied body work, ended up getting an associate's degree in natural health sciences with a concentration in body work and skincare. So I got a lot of exposure um, to to cosmetic products. You know, I was the only guy, I was one of two men in my class of all women, and like every day we were doing facials and like, you know, applying
But
makeup
that's
and
good, because that,
foundation.
that makes you really well rounded in everything, because like you
Right,
say, and people usually think that your physical appearance is just surface level, and whenever you put something on your skin, topically speaking, you're only putting it at the surface level. But it
yes,
took also a long time for me as a woman to realize that, because also when you grow up, it's it's culture, it's society
right,
in general. So even when you're a little girl or you're a young guy, you go to the drugstore and you already start seeing all the stuff for your
right.
skin that you put on top of your skin. But what should be really taught is
Mhm.
that you need to start putting things on the inside of your body first
Yeah,
before you can treat what's on the outside.
absolutely. And you know, like that was like a big thing for me because a lot of people were like, dude, you're dark skinned and you don't eat chicken. And I was like, no. They were like, well, what do you do? Like, where do you go for your protein? I was like, you ever heard of a thing called moringa? You know, you ever heard of like, you know, beets and celery and like a few other like dandelion greens, lots of protein in these dark leafy greens and vegetables, you know. And you know, I was leaner. I had way more energy, way more endurance, way more stamina, you know, for my physical activity, which was body work at the time. And then I got into the acupuncture program like finally, and 7 years ago, I graduated the program. So I've been practicing, you know, for the last 7 years, but I've been in the industry for at least like going on almost 11 years now. And I'm not planning on getting out anytime soon,
Well,
you know?
good, because honestly, I feel like we need more, healers like you, instead of so much of having, your typical doctor that you go into, your primary health physician, and all they want to do
Mhm.
is jack you up with antibiotics.
Well, you
Because
know,
honestly, that is not the cure all.
no.
Western medicine is not always the best medicine.
Right. And you know, ironically, most people when they hear traditional Chinese medicine, they think, oh, it's just acupuncture and herbs and think that we have absolutely no Western medical training, which is quite false. You know, we have to be able to understand the Western systems of diagnosis, you know, read a complete blood chart, you know, be able to identify like what's happening and be able to translate and communicate with our colleagues in the allopathic community who in essentially like we're on two different sides of the healthcare industry. TCM is about preventative medicine and allopathic is more about, well, you couldn't prevent it. Now we got to do some surgeries or like make some adjustments that you didn't necessarily want to make in your own life. So, you know, something I always like people knowing is that it's never too late for them to make an adjustment to where, you know, they can reverse a lot of the issues that they're dealing with, you know, both and complementary. I'm not against Western medicine. All I do is seek to complement what some of the physicians do. And I have my patients speak with their primary care physicians and say, hey doc, is it okay if we adjust my medication so that way I can do these natural alternatives? And most doctors are usually very okay with their patients making that adjustment. So there are good doctors out there in the Western medicine side of the house that are open to, you know, naturopathic therapy. And I also want everybody to know whether it's your skin or your internal skin, you know, which is essentially your digestive system, you know, TCM can help in so many different ways, as well as like, but we want to help complement what you're doing already. It's not about making drastic changes in your lifestyle. Sometimes it's the small little things that we do that make such a huge impact, like adding
100%.
turmeric, you know, to reduce a lot of inflammatory diseases. So, you know, I've really enjoyed this. Like, I feel like I keep talking, but I know that, like, you know,
I
you like
know, right? Because I don't want people to get bored. I think we
reach.
still have some people on, so it doesn't matter. I
Yeah,
think we can definitely continue, because not only this is really informational for me because I'm learning so much, but also I feel like this is so great for the people watching, because honestly, a lot of people have misconceptions when it comes to
yes,
TCM. Like you said, people just think that it's acupuncture and just think that it's, Chinese herbs and teas and things like that,
yes,
when that's not the case.
not
Um,
at all.
there is a lot that does go into it, and from my personal experience, starting to go into the holistic doctor approach versus on the regular doctor approach. So this is what I did just to test this myself, because I am the kind of person, at least, that I like to be very sure, and I like to do my research before I, try anything. So what I did is I made two appointments. I made an appointment with your ears, nose doctor, which is going to
Right.
be for your sinuses. And then I
Yeah.
made the appointment with the holistic doctor. And I went
Mhm.
to both places. And when I went to go to the regular doctor, um, and I told him every single symptom that I was having. I told him already that I was on Claritin, that I was on Allegra, that I was on Flonase, that I was on all these medications that I kept using, on all these antihistamines, that I realized that that's why I was also having issues with my sleep, because it
Right.
messed with my circadian rhythm, and I had no
Right.
idea that antihistamines were throwing me out of whack like that.
Right.
So after being on like Allegra for an entire year. Yeah, for an entire year. And I told the doctor this. He, checked me. He put some stuff up my nose, etc. And at the end of the consultation, he still prescribed me Flonase and antibiotics and everything else. It didn't do any additional search. Then
Right.
I go to my holistic
Holistic.
doctor,
Right.
and she didn't even have to look at me or anything. I just walked into her office and she already kind of started diagnosing me, just
Right.
like you said. And from the first moment, we did a little bit of oxygen therapy, and then she did a little bit of acupuncture, my first
Right.
acupuncture session ever. And then she had me lay on an amethyst crystal bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? I started noticing a difference in my sleep and in my sinuses and everything altogether. And it's also very funny because as soon as also I walked into her office, on top of her diagnosing me just by looking at me, she just
Right.
looked at me and she said, "There's something going on with your I don't know how to pronounce it.
Pineal gland.
No, not the
Oh,
pineal, the
excuse me, the
the
pituitary gland.
pituitary. Yeah, that one. She's like,
Well,
"There's
the
something going
pituitary.
on there. We got to tap into that." And I'm just like, "Yeah, well, I was going through like a lot of things with my mom because she was going through her cancer treatment and everything like that." And I'm telling you that she put the needle, she did acupuncture right here and like just started crying like a baby without any like triggers or anything. And that's when I knew, and I came back and I told my boyfriend, I was like, "You don't realize that people think that this is like fake medicine, that people think
Right.
that sometimes just because they can't tangibly feel the medicine that they're getting, because I
We'll
guess if
take a
you
pill.
hold a pill bottle, it feels
Right.
real to you, so you're like, okay, I'm consuming the medicine and the pill, so I feel it." But when you're in
Right.
acupuncture and when you're laying there and you're meditating or you're healing, this is all things that your body is doing internally and energetically that you don't even need to feel or see in order for to realize that it's real. So for me, that was a complete game changer, and I haven't looked back since. So
Right. Well, like a lot of people don't understand that with acupuncture, it's a system of medicine that's been in existence for over 5,000 years. Like, and a lot, like, in comparison to allopathic medicine is still is in its infancy stages. Like, the modern conventional system of medication has only been around for, truthfully, the last 300 to 400 years. And a lot of it is composed or derived from what they learned in the East, like both Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine, medicines that they were discovering in the pyramids of Egypt, and it completely changed the way that the Western world was doing a lot of things health wise. I mean, like, there was still a lot of superstition that was involved with Western medication or Western societies and what they thought was, the cause of certain illnesses, whether it was, "Ooh, you got the devils in you." You know what I mean? And
yeah,
um,
exactly.
and that and that is what left it a lot of medicine up to, the churches, to which were educational facilities for higher education. So, having come out of that personal cultural, indoctrination, because, I'm Native American, and but having been exposed since a very young age to Western medicine, I never really felt that it was the right system. I was I was totally against taking pills, medication,
Vaccines, etc.
yeah,
I completely 100%. So
right,
I am half Chinese, and my grandma, she has a tea for everything. So I grew up on tea. So for me, that's why, you know, um, I am a very big believer in that. The one thing that
mhm,
the piece of the puzzle that was missing for me was the part of how your spirit does connect to your health as
yeah,
well, and how you being in tune with your body itself and connected to your spirit has so much to do with your physical vitality and
yes,
and your mindset and everything. So it's kind of crazy because that also goes along with Asian culture and
yeah,
Chinese practices. And
mhm,
when I started kind of when I first met you, and I tapped into your profile and I saw that you do a lot of Tai Chi and things like that. It's so also beneficial that how movement in your body is so
yes,
important as well for your vitality. And we're not only talking about exercising, because anybody can go for a run for 20 minutes and sweat it out. You know, we're not really talking about that specifically, but just simple movements, simple isolated movements that are just creating energy flow in your body. That in
Hmm.
itself creates such a big difference also in your physical vitality, or even in the state of mind that you are in that moment, your emotional capabilities too.
Right.
So I think that in
And
general, it encompasses a lot of the things that some of parts of Western medicine is kind of missing, and there's some sort of disconnect there that I believe that exists, because when you're going more of like on the Western side, you're always thinking, well, I'm only going to the doctor to treat my body, but who is
mhm,
treating your mind? Who's treating your heart? Who's treating your emotions? You know, and I feel like this is why in the United States, mental health is such a huge you know, it's a big highlight in the conversations,
yeah,
especially in the year that we've had right now. 2020
yes,
has been such a crazy year as far as mental health goes, in the sense
yes,
of, if already as Americans we felt that we lived under pressure, that we lived our daily routines, and we're constantly just trying to keep our heads above water. If you
right,
throw a year like 2020 into the mix, which is kind of like a monkey wrench, and you add the fact that you have a global pandemic on top of that, and
right,
people are already feeling a certain type of way mentally and emotionally, the only thing that's going to falter after that is your physical
right,
vitality, because if you're already, you know, stressed out and you're emotionally not processing any of those things, the thing that comes after is your physical health. So now people are
right.
so worried about you know, COVID.
Hmm.
Everybody's trying to take extreme measures, but at the same time, you have to be able to, you know, take the steps that you need in order to, like, you know, fully heal yourself, because like I said, mental, emotional, and physical are so important. So when you go into the doctor and you're only going to treat your physical, and for example you say, oh my god, I have the worst back pain, I keep getting these migraines, and the doctor somehow can't find the cause, then that's how you know that there's something else and that's underlying, that is causing these issues, that it goes way above the surface level of like, this is just an ache or a pain, you know.
Right. But sometimes, like the beauty, one of the things that I love and find so beautiful about traditional Chinese medicine is that it operates on reflex, right? Like using the largest organ of the body, right? So like when you think about someone tickling your foot, or just like lightly touching your foot, and it sends such a sensation of like, ooh, you get giddy,
Yeah.
you know if that kind of thing can make a person feel better just for a split second, or for however long the foot's being tickled, imagine, recognizing that certain places that you tickle or you touch, like touching here for women who are feeling like hot flashes from hormonal flush, right, can actually like lower the body's entire temperature. That not just here along the region of the pituitary and the pineal, housed by the pineal gland, can also help to regulate hormonal balances and also thyroid function, but it can also help to calm the heart, and help the heart deal with um, anger, frustration, sadness, and grief, like release a little bit of joy. And what you said about the slow exercises, you're absolutely right. It's easy to do a movement fast, but there's no mind and body connection. The body is
No
just lifting.
self-awareness.
Yeah, and like so when I practice my qigong exercises or I do my tai chi exercises, each time is a completely different experience for me because each movement, combined and paired with a certain breathing, holding the breath at one point, breathing it out in another point, gets me so high that afterwards, like it's difficult for me to just like get angry about anything. Not to mention, I'm also a little bit too exhausted to really be concerned about trying to fight. You know what I mean? So like I love the fact that even when I'm not doing the movement, stimulating certain points of the body that trigger the brain to be able to perceive certain activities happening in the body causes the body to still react or produce a lot of the endorphins and hormones that, quite frankly, some of us are either deficient of or have too much, and like we're suffering from emotional overload. America is is leading the world in overtime, and I'm talking about like overtime as in like, oh, you got an 8-hour job, no problem. You want some overtime? We'll pay you time and a half. Oh, sure, I'll do that. And people sacrificing for the sake of generating more money will sacrifice their health just for the sake of like, just for the sake of making a little bit more money. Perfect example in 1981, right? There, the leading cause of liver cancer was actually found to be Johnson and Johnson's Tylenol. Believe it or not, Johnson and Johnson owns Tylenol, right?
Oh wow.
And they were like they performed a study. The way that they found out that people that it was Tylenol that was the root cause to liver dysfunctions, liver cancers, gallbladder inflammation, cholecystitis,
Because everybody
was
had a headache.
everybody was suffering from a headache, from in migraines, from overworking, exhausting their pineal gland and their pituitary gland and completely disrupting the circadian rhythm because they're going to sleep at odd hours, they're waking up at odd hours, they're not drinking enough water, they're drinking the sugary beverages just to give them more energy to go back to work, and they came to find out that the majority of the workforce having had migraines were taking the number one pain relieving product at the time, which was none other than Tylenol. So, if only people would have replaced one tea with another tea, that other tea being turmeric, they would have gotten the same benefits from the Tylenol without the Tylenol with a lot more nutritional benefits. So, it's in this day and age where like information is so easy to grasp and get just by, hitting a button on your mobile computer, aka your cell phone,
Right.
you know, there's nothing that's outside of reach now for us to like start making adjustments in our own lifestyle, our eating, but most importantly, it's not what we put on our body, it's what we put
You put
into our
in your body 100%. And
you
also
know.
it's the things that you consume on a daily basis that it's just
Yes.
honestly plays such a huge role in your overall wellness. And for me, it was just because I used to always be the person, like if I showed you how many supplements I used to take before, because something that I always want to highlight is the fact that a lifestyle change isn't only
Mhm.
changing what you eat, but changing what you consume as a human being.
Right.
The people that you surround yourself with, the information that you're intaking, the music that you're listening to, the
Totally.
news that you're watching, everything honestly has such a big subconscious impact on how you feel inside. And I can definitely say that at least in the past, I'm actually very grateful for 2020. 2020 has been a eye-opening year for me. It's been a breakthrough
Yes.
year for me. It's been I found a lot of new things about myself this year because of COVID, because of
Mhm.
everything that I've experienced, because my apartment got flooded last week. You
Yeah.
know, a lot. I've learned so much. So for me, it's nothing but lessons that I've learned this year that I'm going to take with me, and it's only going to get better. But I will say that years prior to that, I was definitely the person who fell into the American way of life, living, capitalizing myself. So trading
Right.
my hours, trading my time, trading my health for, success at work, trading my mental health and my emotional health for, having a better career, so to speak, or being successful in my career, so to speak. I
For a better
attached a lot of my
lifestyle.
personal value to my achievements, when
Yes.
as a human being you should never attach your achievements as attached to your value. It's the complete
Right.
way around. So that actually also was a huge eye opener for me, and that's kind of when I started realizing that everything that you consume from the inside out is what's actually
Absolutely.
affecting everything that happens in the outside world is everything that you've consumed on the inside.
I once heard Tony Robbins say that only in America do we equate success with unhappiness, because in other countries people feel happy, but they don't necessarily have the level of success because, like some of the people with the most money in the world. I mean, like we've seen a couple of American celebrities commit suicide in recent years, and despite how much money we thought they had, those people were very, very sad inside. So at the very least, it's important that people are doing the things that make them feel better about themselves, better about who they're around. And you're totally right. What it is that we expose ourselves to, not just dietarily, but mentally, and listening. They're programming our subconscious. They're programming our minds to perceive something that, quite frankly, keeping up with the Joneses is not going to do it. you know. And I see that Mercurial Mama mentioned it's not necessarily missing, but more intentionally, it's more intentional. And I think I agree with you also that it is more of a microwave style of solution that people are are attaching themselves to. They're looking for the fast remedy, you know, instead of realizing that the real remedy is not like looking for something outside. Oftentimes, it's like a joke I heard with a Buddhist monk who went to a hot dog stand. You know, he says, "Let me get one with everything on it." He eats the hot dog. The monk says to the hot dog vendor, "Can I have my change?" And the vendor goes, "Silly monk, all change comes from within."
Oh,
You know
that's
what I'm saying?
funny.
Like that's the only way out is to go inside, you know, and
Yes,
that's
100%. I always say that everything that you need, it's all within you. There's no need for you to look for anything outside of
right.
yourself. All the answers that you seek are within yourself. So even if you're
Yes,
not sure, of what you should be doing for your health and wellness, go deep inside and ask yourself. You know yourself better than anyone. But what happens is that
right,
when we let all the outside voices of the world, create that static and that interference, and we
right.
once you shut all of that out and you start just listening to yourself and really being in tune and listen to your gut, because a lot of the times, well, I will say two things: gut health, like you said, your internal
Yeah,
skin, your internal skin, your intestinal, your digestive system, and your gut are extremely extremely important, because not only are they also help you counterintuitively with your actual gut feelings, but if your gut is out of whack, then your gut feelings are going to be out of whack. And something that I realized is that my gut
yeah,
health was completely out of whack. So I felt myself in a constant state of anxiety, because I was constant in a constant state of fight or flight, because since I didn't know how to differentiate, whether I was having a gut feeling out of excitement or I was having an anxiety based feeling. um, Once I started fixing my digestive system, my gut health,
mhm,
and things like that, when I started going deep within myself mentally and meditating and things like that, what I found was that all that anxiety was from a place of fear and basically insecurities, because I didn't want to sit alone with my thoughts. You know what I
mhm,
mean? I didn't want to sit alone with my thoughts and be like, okay, what do I need to make myself feel better health wise? What do I need to make myself feel better emotionally, mentally? Am I happy in my job? Am I happy in my career? Do I need to make some adjustments in that? That's why I said this year was actually a great year, and I wish and I hope that taking advantage of the time that we've
yeah,
had to reflect and really dig deep down inside, and
yeah,
really really realize that what's on the outside world, you know, a lot of people realize that with this pandemic, they didn't have to work 80 hours a week. They didn't
no,
have to do the things that they were doing. They didn't have to go out all the time and party, four days out of the week. A lot of people realize that a lot of the things that they thought that they needed, they don't need at all. You could just be
no,
happy at home with yourself, and the people, and that's another thing that some people realize, and some people had it rough as well, because there were some people that were looking to the outside world for an escape. And then when they were forced to retreat back inside, they really had to sit down with themselves and really deal with who they really were. And it may
yeah,
have not been pretty in the beginning, but I'm pretty sure that maybe a lot of them are breaking through in a sense. But a lot of people use that method of escapism. For me, that's what it was with my career and my job. For
yeah,
me, I love my hospitality job because it allowed me to go everywhere, do a lot of things, and travel a
mhm,
lot. But then when I started noticing that I was only happy traveling, that's when I noticed that if I'm not happy back at home and I'm only happy away, then that means there's something not right, because there's a disconnect. What am I running away from? So
right,
you have to sit down and really, have those conversations with yourself. And I think it's
absolutely.
funny because we just went like we went from like health and wellness to like spirituality and like mindset, but it all encompasses,
It's
guys. Everything is
that's
correlated
it's
to
that's
another.
holistic. That's holistic. That's holistic medicine in its entirety, right there. You know, and like you know, I find myself oftentimes having these same kind of conversations because it's hard to discuss a person's health without discussing what it is that influences their mindset. And spirituality is one of the most deeply rooting things that influences the mindsets of people. You know, like we got 28 seconds. I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna get kicked off, right? But I honestly feel that, like, you know, at the beginning of the year, I went deep inside. I said a prayer and I said, you know, Creator, I need you to take away the business where I stop touching people and I can start communicating with them and touching them in different ways. And then, wouldn't you know, February happened and